Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Everfanshow. My name is Dylan. I'm here today with Francis, Shad, and Dawson Elke, and we're going to talk to you about the short film of Shadow of the Conqueror and a few other things. So, I just want to start by thanking again everyone who backed the Kickstarter for Shadow of the Conqueror. We're really trying to update you as much as possible on the project. We know the project has slowed down a bit during the last few weeks slash months, but we're trying to get back up to speed and trying to make sure that this is going to be as good as possible. I also want to thank our patrons, Steve Flaming, Legendary, Armin Quast, Matthias Rottestam, and Albert. Thank you for supporting us as well. So today we will be talking about a small surprise that Shad and Dawson don't know about yet. And we're also going to discuss a bit about the other few things that we're working on for the film. So, how are you guys?
I'm doing good. What about you?
Me?
I'm good, mate.
Awesome, mate.
Awesome. See, even I have trouble with the Ocker accent because I know I have an accent, but not a traditional Aussie Ocker accent. It can come out when I'm getting like really into it, mate. You look at that. But other than that, it's not really.
I've never heard you say crikey.
Yeah, it's not a common word. Like crikey. In reality, yeah, it's not that much of a common word. Not in the areas I live.
So, let's start by talking about the script a bit more. So we sent a version of the script recently to Shad Shad, give us a bit your feedback on where we're at with the script.
So the script before I had sent it already was in a pretty good place, but Dylan was saying to me just before that there's an opportunity to add a bit more into it. And so the question we've been throwing back and forth was possibility of giving Arik a few scenes. And I'm a bit more against that idea unless we almost double the length of the short film because there's too much of a significant character. There could be a cameo, like a brief, scene where you see him kind of doing looking sternly something or something in the back or something like that. But if you're introducing him to actually be doing things, it feels like it's one that's not fitting unless he's given a proper prominence and some type of arc, because one of the things about having a short film is that it needs to be a self-contained story, hopefully satisfying for those who know nothing about the book and can just watch it. And so unless he's doing something of significance, it's just going to be this odd tagged on thing is like, kind of why is he there? So I personally think if we're going to be expanding or adding some more content, it would be to give Lyra a bit more prominence, because the short story as it was, with such a significant character, she was there. She had a small, you got to see some of the sparks between her and Dalen in the script, but it didn't go too much into not much into a backstory, but also her struggles and stuff. And that's an opportunity I think we could capitalize on if we were expanding it. That's my thoughts.
Okay. So, and I've been seeing in the chat people asking who is going to play Arik. So Francis, can you tell us who's going to play Arik?
Well, this is one of the big surprises. We still don't know. Like, we don't even know if there's going to be a Arik. So we're like Shad said, we're trying to, well, we would like to include him. Obviously, would like to include QSEG if we can. But we're not ready to sacrifice the quality of the script to include other characters, even to the displeasure of some people that really wants to see them. Having a cameo would be cool, but that would be a pretty expensive cameo because we would have to do the whole costume. So
yeah, and that's something that's not insignificant. Building the whole costume, and a costume for a main character is going to be quite pricey. So
exactly. So there's a lot of things that we have to take into account. But we're looking into it. We're building an extended version of the script in case we move toward that direction. But I am also on the same train of thought as Shad when we say that we want to give a better arc to Lyra, because she is a more prominent character in that short. So we need to make sure that her arc is perfect before moving and thinking about adding someone else. So yeah, that's my thought.
Randomly, guys, what do you think of my Detective Dane beard? Am I looking at it like
we were
Detective
discussing
Dane?
about it. We were discussing about it earlier, and we were saying like it's incredible how much Shad is into it and how much effort he put into his beard. Like, guys, can you see this?
It takes skill to grow a beard like that.
Yeah. It's a great beard.
And you did it in quite a short amount of time.
I know.
and with the little white strands at the bottom.
That's what I was curious about. Is that gray, or is that silver, or is it blonde?
It's a bit grey, actually. It's not as far as silver, and definitely not blonde. What am I, a pansy? I'm going to be speaking in Detective Dane's voice from now on, just to get in character, I think. Well, for the rest of the live stream, should I be Detective Dane? Well, I don't know.
It's a beautiful beard and looks, I think, especially dashing with the studded leather. I mean, sorry, brigandine that you have.
I'll put it on. I have it like right over there.
I know it's a brigandine, but I couldn't help but think when I saw you wearing it, remembering your complaints about studded leather, and then going, "Hang on a minute!" Like,
oh my god!
So, funny thing about the beard, I like the look. I like it a lot better than the previous like smaller beard I had. And so I think I'm going to keep it. So,
well, what does the wife think?
Sorry?
What does the wife think?
She does. She's not as much of a fan, but she can tolerate it if I keep it neat.
Okay.
So, well, I got pretty long at one point, and it was itchy, and so I itch it and scratch it out, and it ended up being like this poof thing like that.
Oh. Yes. Like, you should try shaving all the middle stuff and just having the chops. Charles.
Well, I got the grey on the chops. That could give it a bit of prominence, can't it?
I tried it once, just in between. So I shaved just the middle, and then I went to see my my fiance, and she said, "Cut everything off."
She's not into the Victorian parliamentarian. Like
this doesn't.
Before we move on to anything else, there was a question from Rose Lanier. If the short film does really well, will there be a full film? It is the goal. It is the main goal. Actually, we want something that will be really, really, really good, so we can get Shad to agree on a feature film, and then we would do a feature film.
You have a few million?
And we're going to need a few millions, obviously.
One development that we had recently, and I mean recently like this week, is that we were approached by Jason from what's his channel? It's Modern History, yeah. So
it's a YouTube channel that goes into medieval history. Brilliant YouTube channel, and Jason is a champion, like a really, really friendly, smart, clever, and industrious, successful guy.
The sexy medieval knight guy with the long hair.
Yeah,
that's Jason. What? Yeah, what people don't know about Jason, well, it's not a hidden secret, but a lot of people aren't aware of this. He's the owner and founder of Rebellion. They make the Sniper Elite games, and they're also they're a publishing group as well, Rebellion Publishing.
And they also own a studio.
I feel like, so if you go to Modern History TV, you're going to see a small short Jason has made with this new visual effects production stage. he has made, and it's amazing, and it looks amazing as well. And they did it for, like, I haven't had this confirmed, but he's shared some of the pictures of its production, and it looks like there's one of the pictures is shared from the production. It looks like the same technology they used on the Mandalorian, which is where they project the screen, they project the background on these screens, but they can film it in real time and not use a green screen. And because of that, it looks incredibly photorealistic, and it's amazing. It looks incredible.
It is the same kind of technology. So I discussed with Jason yesterday about, and we're trying to find a deal that we can make, and it might not be possible. We're just talking right now. It's there's nothing that was confirmed. It's not sure that we're gonna do the film with them, but if it's possible, we're trying to find a way that we could do it in partnership with them and using this kind of technology. So he told me that his goal was to make a technology that's very similar to what Disney used for the Mandalorian series, and make it available to indie filmmaking level.
That's us.
So,
and he reached out to you guys.
Yeah, well, he reached out directly to Shad, which put us in contact with him.
Oh.
And
really friendly guy.
And that would be a great, it would be amazing. It would also change our decor because we're supposed to shoot here, but if we go with them, we would shoot in England. So whole different scenery.
That's fine with me. Where's he?
Bit of a balance.
What were you going?
You go.
What were you saying, Dawson?
Do you know where he's located in England?
Oxford.
Oxford. Oh. Yes, please. Let's go.
Me and Francis are at the same place as you, Dawson. We really want to go, but we have to think about again. It goes back to what's the main purpose. We want to focus mainly on making sure that the film is good. That we want to make sure that most of the budget goes to making the film better and not just doing something because it's going to be more fun for us.
Yeah.
So obviously this would be very fun for us to do. It may boost the production quality as well, but at what cost? If we have to cut on a lot of other things because of that, it's not going to be worth it, and we're going to have to stick with what we planned earlier. And it fell into a very good place in our schedule, because in our schedule we're starting to look at studios to rent right now. So if we manage to find a way to do it with them, then it's the right moment to schedule that. And
the main kind of hurdle or barrier is the flight costs, isn't it? The travel to get there.
It's not bad actually.
Not during COVID.
The flights are not super expensive right now. It's more the stay and the food while we're there, because we have to pay food for everyone that's there for the whole duration that we're there, plus the stay as well. So that's more of the challenge.
How many people do you need accommodation for? Just randomly.
Well, obviously, if we go there, we're gonna reduce the team that's flying there. There's gonna be people working from home here, but most of the people on site are gonna be recruited from where it's gonna be shot. We're not gonna fly in. Like right now, we had almost 25 people already involved in the project. So we're obviously not going to fly 25 people to the UK. if we do that. It's going to be mainly the core team. So director, producer, main actors, and all of that.
Well, if we allocate the budget to traveling to England, I will happily pay for all my own sausage and bangers and fish and chips.
Well, the other side to it is that, I mean, we do have some contacts over there. I know I do, and I mean, it depends on what level of comfort people would want. But I think we could find some accommodation that people might be willing to provide.
Well,
even.
our plan was to go with something like renting a whole house for a month, and having one room for each person. So that way they're going to share the same kitchen, the same living room, but we're going to have a place where we can lodge a lot of people for not that much money.
We could set up pavilions and tents and make a whole reenactment out of it. I mean, if Lloyd's going to be there.
I've never cared about comfort while working on a set, so I could literally sleep on the floor.
Amen.
I would pay for my own flights and accommodation, because if I was going to England, I would have to extend my visit, and that would because if I'm going to England, it's like
I'm thinking the same thing, Shad. If we do this in England, I'm not going there for just 2 weeks. Right. I'm going there for a month or two.
Yeah, and if we're in Oxford, I'm gonna go sneak over to the kilns and just sleep in C.S. Lewis's bedroom. Get past the security and the housekeeping. They'll find me in there.
There are so many castles I would have to visit. I'd try, and it would be an opportunity to meet up with maybe Matt and Lloyd and do some collabs as well while I'm over there.
Well, Lloyd is going to be on set anyways, but if we can have Matt as well, and it also reduces the cost for Adoria as well.
Yeah, that's a significant point.
And
I need to hand off my kids to someone for like 2 months.
Bring them with. My wife will come. She's a nanny for a living.
Maybe I don't know.
Well, my girlfriend might come too if we do it. She's gonna pay for her own traveling and everything. But we're gonna need a nanny.
Sorry, Shad, we didn't hear.
Yeah.
I was asking Dawson. He does know how many kids I have, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, that's no obstacle. The more the merrier.
Okay, because I might have 5 at the time. When are we filming?
Well, we're looking at filming in June or June. Yeah, May or June, depending.
Because by the way, we got another one on the way. We're expecting.
Yeah. Nice. And
is this brand news?
Yeah, I haven't announced that yet, so I got another one.
Oh, shit. La.
You're trying to make a dynasty here.
Yeah, so this will be number 5, and so there'll be four with a newborn if I brought all the kids over.
Now you need... What? Sorry. No, you go.
I was going to say, which might need to be the case, because I know my wife would definitely want to come with me, and we can't separate her and the newborn, of course. And so, if we're bringing one,
well, you might as well introduce him or her to castles as early on as possible. It's something that that's important in a kid's life.
Well, now you're going to need to build 5 castles on your land, because you can't have one child without a lordship and titles, because then they'll murder one in order to... You've got 5 dukes and duchesses now, man. That's all the congratulations.
And by the way, so I followed one of your advice, Shad, and I bought myself a house.
Ooh,
so
way to go.
And it's a duplex, so I also have another apartment giving us a bit of rent as well. And if we're doing the film here, I was gonna use the house as well for a few rooms for people to stay in. So that would save us a bit of money on lodging if we still do the film here. So that's a way that we can save a bit there.
Congrats, man. And my offer to Shad, this is going to be on the table until you say yes, is my wife and I will relocate. We will move to Australia. And if you played Red Dead Redemption 2, the scene where they're all building the house in John Marston's house, we will build like the first shed or whatever that will be part of the Bailey, which will eventually be part of your castle. And I will be your construction foreman on your castles. And I'll just devote my life to that. Because I still live in my apartment here, but moving out to Australia and living on your land and being your, what would it, warden or groundskeeper? Something like Steward.
You'll be a famous actor by then, Dawson. It'll be beneath you.
I want to do both.
That'll be the plan to get the castle built up and everything. The question is, how do you handle snakes?
I love them. I love snakes.
You love them?
Yeah.
You sure? Because you might not when you move over here.
No, I have always loved snakes. I'm not a spider fan or a centipede fan, but snakes and rats I adore.
Oh.
And your marsupials are wild, but I think I like them too.
Yeah, I don't like snakes.
No.
We have Emilio that was asking a question it's a bit unrelated to Shadow of the Conqueror, but I might as well talk about it right now. He was asking if we're gonna do some playtests of Battle for Diratia, and I don't know. We discussed a bit about it, Shad. Battle for Diratia, I think it's our role-playing game that we're working on right now. So
yes, you did. I do remember you mentioning something.
I mentioned it like a month ago or two. It was early on, and you told me to look at Cogent as well, and I did. So now that's what the cover looks like, and we're at 62 pages long for the rule book, with the latest updates that we sent today. And in the latest update, I want you to note that I added using two-handed weapons with one hand and using shields with no hands.
Oh, nice.
So this, guys, is an option that you can use in the game, and if you want to download it, it's available on our Patreon for free. You don't have to be a patron to download it, by the way. So,
and yes, the play testing is coming. We're just trying to find a date. And yes, we're still planning to do the Among Us. And this is one thing, we don't have all the players yet, but we have a couple, we're I think 5 right now, so that we could play with the production team and everything, and some fans, so could be nice too. And with that being said, should we move to the next news?
Okay, which one? So we're gonna go with that one. So that's the latest images that we have gotten from Kelly. So that's where the sword is at right now, with the 3D renders that they sent us for what the sword looks like. So we didn't discuss about it a lot, so we exchanged a few emails, Shad, about the sword, and we were talking. We were talking about how we're gonna make it a bit more realistic and make sure that it looks grounded in reality.
Yeah, so because what they are also making it, I think, as the primary thing is the foam LARP version that's going to be available for everyone, retail, when it's launched, and that's what mainly you're seeing there. And so they're working more with shape and dimensions. That's going to conform to something that'll work well as a foam LARP sword. And they got the shape, like I reckon they hit that balance really, really well. They haven't finalized what the final color and finish is going to be, because it's going to be like
this is again a 3D render and not the final product. And I've seen a few comments about the thickness, and obviously it's not going to be 1 millimeter thick like it's in the book, because it's just not feasibly.
Not yet.
So for the film, we're probably going to reduce the thickness digitally, but for the prop itself is going to be a bit thicker than the real the book version, obviously.
Is there going to be a cool scene where I'm holding out the sword and the camera pans and you can see the broad flat of the blade, but as the camera pans in front of me, it disappears completely until then you see it?
Yeah, I'm taking note. That's cool.
That is awesome. Like that.
From my understanding, Sunforged blades could be super thin. That's the case, John. Sunforged blades can be super, super thin.
There's actually a bit of additional clarification I added to the second edition, which still isn't out. My apologies, but it was like there, but it was never mentioned in the first edition. And it's that when you Sunforge something, you have the option of keeping it have the same malleability and elasticity as its original type, or you can do a second kind of infusion of light, which hardens it, which makes it basically stiff as anything. And so that's how you can Sunforge cloth, and it'll fold like normal cloth still, and it'll have the properties that a Sunforged item has, which is nigh indestructibility and enhancing the purpose of the object that it was, what it was made for. Or you could harden it, and then it's just solid as anything. And so that's how you could make a Sunforged weapon out of wood, and then it becomes solid. Or you could still have Sunforged boots or, cloaks and things like that. Just a little bit of clarification.
Okay.
Righty.
What would a Sunforged butter knife be like? Oh my god, that's a good question. No, sorry.
What would a Sunforged butter knife
be like? Yeah,
a lot like a normal one.
Well, from my understanding, a Sunforged item has boosted properties. So
It does.
think a Sunforged butter knife would spread the butter better.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to
more evenly?
spread, have you ever tried to spread hard butter or butter that's been in the fridge and it's like rock and you
worst.
spread?
You ruin
a
the bread.
Sunforged knife, that would never happen. The butter would always spread smoothly.
Whoa, it really? How's that?
So
Wouldn't it just cut through the bread? And the plate?
The purpose that it was meant for. And so a butter knife, its purpose is meant to spread butter, not to cut. But the purpose an item gets is actually infused by the people who use it. It's actually tied in with the background lore of the world. And so there's a discussion, a sequence between Arik and Dalen about when Arik creates something, he can return it back to light unless the item obtains its own self-identity. It isn't to say that items have consciousness, but they are infused with a concept of what they are based on how they're used. And that's actually given by the people who use it and how people perceive those things.
I might have missed that in my first reading a little bit, but wow. So these are teleological weapons in a sense, that the purpose they serve, it defines their nature, and that is revealed in the magic. That's philosophically very interesting.
Yeah. And so if you made a sword that you never cut anyone with, and you only ever hit someone with the flat of it because you didn't want it to be lethal, and then you Sunforged that sword, the sword would never harm anyone. It would only,
Whoa.
because its identity is infused by the perception of the people around it and how they look upon it and stuff. And so, yeah, that's some of the background lore of the spiritual nature of the realm and how objects obtain that sense of identity and stuff. And when it has identity, Arik can't return it back to light. But it takes time for that to get infused. And then, yeah, that is how its sun forging is manifested. Its purpose is enhanced.
Wow. I like this.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
if you sunforged like a hammer, like just a carpentry hammer, and you hit your hand with it, would it not hurt? Because
probably not. It would hurt less. It doesn't like discount things entirely, but it enhances the main purpose of what it was meant to do. And its purpose wasn't meant to hurt people. It was meant to
exactly.
Nails and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's it.
And now the question everyone wants to know, the answer to is, if you make a table leg out of you sunforge a table leg and you knock your toe on it, will it hurt more?
Not more, but just about as much. Because
Okay.
its purpose is not in conflict too much with other interactions like that. And its purpose is very stationary. It's a static purpose, and therefore you wouldn't be seeing much of a manifestation of it then. If you want a purpose to be enhanced, it usually needs to be a more active purpose. That's you utilizing it for something.
Okay, cool.
Wow.
Did we have any condition for no? Okay. So, next news.
Okay, so you want the surprise now?
The surprise. Yeah, let's go with the surprise.
That's what you want?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here it is.
The magnificent miniature Dawson.
Oh, I have not seen this yet.
Oh, it's a mini me. Dude, look at my booty crack there.
Yeah, you need to get in shape, bro. He's in shape.
Just ask my wife. I'm pretty flat. But we're gonna digitally fix that in post.
Yeah, we're gonna give you a big booty.
I'll be back in just a sec, guys. I will be a sec.
That is so sick.
I think Shad needs to go cry or something.
Oh no.
Yeah. You didn't like the miniature?
That or he liked it too much. Either or.
Okay, good. So actually, yeah, I'm gonna let you announce what's coming next with that miniature.
Okay, so this miniature that you're seeing right now is going to be available for 3D printing for those who want to buy the miniature and 3D print it at home. We have it in it's a modular miniature, so you can select the pose that you want, the base that you want, the hands, and pose it exactly how you like. So here's an example of Dalen with his sword on his hip, and we already 3D printed a few of them, and here's what it looks like 3D printed, and yeah, so that's what it looks like, and we're quite happy with how it looks. So Shad, what's your reaction for this?
I love it. So I love the pose. It conveys a lot of power, intention, motion as well. Looks brilliant. The character the designers, you've nailed that. That's brilliant. And Imperious there as well. You've captured Dawson's intense look that he can whip out when he's in character and stuff. This is brilliant. This looks really, really good. And I noticed the base that looked like on some versions, yeah, the Master's Mark.
Exactly. That's what it is. So we have a more natural base and a base that's the Master of the Sword mark. So you can choose either or, depending on your preference. I really like the Master of the Sword base though. It's really good looking. So let's go see what the people in the chat think about it.
I always thought that the ultimate objective.
If there was a variant with armor, I'd buy this in a heartbeat. I need this.
Send one to Jazza, obviously. We're going to do
Send
it.
one to Jazza, obviously. So
are you going to make me buy mine?
No, I'm sending one to you right after this. Well, tomorrow I'm going to go to the post office and send one to you, Dawson. And I was gonna look into if it's better if Shad, if Jazza printed one directly himself, or if we're posting it to Shad, either or.
If I was to get it printed, I'd probably want it larger, like an actual,
Well, if you want it really large, that Jazza can print it for you, because I know that he has a
but if Jazza prints it, it'll fall apart.
Why?
Did you see his 3D printed sword fighting video?
Yeah, but it's not the same thing.
We don't know that. No.
He has a knack of breaking things.
No.
So
he seems brilliant. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Tulsa's awesome.
Yeah, and Francis already has a version
It's
that's
not
about this
that
big.
a bit smaller. But that maybe, yeah. It's actually a nice size. I didn't want it miniature. I wanted it larger.
I have a few of really miniature size, so I have a few here.
It's so tiny.
So the sword and the base is not assembled yet, but
So one fun thing about miniatures, right, which is always kind of like, yeah, you can't get away with this reality, is that usually the weapons need to be increased in size, otherwise they look too small or they're flimsy and stuff. And so the hilt is obviously too large in proportion to Dalen. What's funny about that, the length of Imperius is meant to be big anyway, but because the hilt's been bigger, it looks like the sword has proper length proportions, but in actual reality, the sword is much longer. Funny. I have a little thing that I've been working on the side. That.
Yeah.
So
that's very cool.
I want that.
What'd you make that out of?
I didn't make this. This is an Imperius letter opener that there might be a way in which people will be able to get one of these. And so more to be revealed later on this.
So about this, even though I've optimized it to...
this is... Oh, sorry, what were you saying, dude?
Even though I've optimized it to print as best as possible, these guards are so tiny that they're about 0.01 there's about 0.1 millimeter in thickness.
Mm-hmm.
So they break really easily.
Well, this one is surprisingly solid. It's cast metal painted over top, and it's actually funny because when I first saw it, I was like, the blade looks a little too long. But I measured and double checked against the model. I was like, oh no, that is how it looks in proportion. And so when you hold it like that to the camera, it's like, whoa! But that's it right there.
The only thing I see is the guard spikes. I think on the model are a bit more.
They should be a bit angled off, but that's one of the issues with the mold, I think. But still, pretty cool, that one.
So that's your letter opener, right? So you're gonna get a lot of Imperius in the next few months.
And
maybe some Everfans stuff. Who knows? The works.
That I think we can't talk about right here, right now.
I know you've got a lot of things to go through, but how's book 2 coming along is definitely my top question.
I'm actually, there's going to be a video where I'm going to be making as to what's my next book. And in that, there's going to be a couple of reveals, some special kind of announcements and everything. And so book 2, unfortunately, was moving slow, and that was a difficulty in finding a balance between writing and all my other responsibilities and stuff. I had the surgery, and my energy levels were also fluctuating and things. And so getting into the crazy dive into mindset was being a bit difficult. And so I was mainly working on the story, the structure, the arcs and the overall thing, what's going on in the story. And that is mostly there. Like, I figured out most of what's going to be happening in book 2 now, the introduction of the characters and everything. And I've written the first chapter, and it came together. The first chapter took a while because there's a lot of fine little, things to make sure to get right. But it was moving a bit slow. And what's happened more recently in the last month or two, I ended up opening up one of my old books. In fact, it was the book I wrote before Shadow of the Conqueror. And when I was looking through it, I was amazed at how solid it was. Like, it needed to be cleaned up. I was like, oh, okay. And I just as a test, I just started like cleaning up the first chapter, and I did it really quickly and easily. And it's like, okay. And then I just because I was looking at it, I kept doing it, and that actually snowballed. And the benefit from doing this, it sunk me back into the writing mindset where that's my priority. I want to write now, and so by doing that, it's going to help out finishing off the second book. But having said that, basically means you're going to get another book in between. Wow. Which is going to be something really, really fun. And so I've fallen down that rabbit hole. So I'm actually going to be finishing off this one. And it's funny, when I finished Shadow of the Conqueror, I did have plans to actually let it rest longer than what I have now my plans are, because I wrote it as a standalone with sequel potential. And the first book actually ends on a really nice beat where Dalen he overcomes a lot of, things and stuff. And it was a good place to actually let that book rest, even though I was intending to do a sequel down the track. But then because people really get into it and really wanting to see where it goes, actually kind of surprised me. I thought people would read it more as a sequel, but when they read it, the response has been, okay, what's next? And so it's like they're really expecting that sooner. And that actually kind of gave me the kick to work on the sequel sooner than I had intended. So I was like, yeah, there is a sequel coming. I'm working on it. But originally, I was planning to let it rest and redo the book I'm currently working on. And then because like I said, people's interest made me flip on that. But then when I went back on looking at the book and realized how much potential it is, it's kind of falling me back into my original plans of getting this book done in between, which is good anyway, just to give you a kind of like a breather, a break, and just so you can come back to the world fresh with fresh eyes and perspective and stuff. But it also means you get a whole new book. And what's exciting about this one, this is my medieval fantasy, like people have heard me name drop Honor Guard, that castle that I've made on my channel. This is the book with Honor Guard in it. And it's got knights, castles, swords, and I'm having so much fun putting this together. It's as I started, as I mentioned, the first chapter was really easy to fix up, but the more I've got into, the more it's turned into, it is pretty much a rewrite. But my goal is to get it done sooner than you might expect, actually. I've been making good headway into it. And so who knows, early next year, you might have something on the way that could be pretty fun and exciting as a little thing to, and if you're going to be hungry for stuff about Everfall, I am also working on something that will I think that will sate your appetite for something about the Chronicles of Everfall while you're waiting for book 2. And there's going to be an announcement about that in the video where I actually basically mention what I just mentioned now, but in a bit more structure and detail, share a bit more awesome things.
When are you planning to announce your surprise that I know about?
Yeah, that'll be in that. You know what
Yeah,
that is.
I know what it is, but when are you planning to announce that?
Oh, in a couple of weeks, and so I'm going to
Okay,
be.
so that's soon.
Yeah, it'll be pretty soon where that you'll get to find out, and it's pretty cool, that announcement. And and it won't be released, but it'll be the announcement where you can start to sign up, so you won't miss it as well. And yeah, and so in that video, I'll explain, that. I'll also announce that there's my medieval series is like my first, Shadiversity medieval fantasy is going to be dropped, and I'm actually really excited for that book, because the more I work on it, it's such an interesting thing, because I have a love for originality, but I also have a deep love for the classics. I love classic tropes, the hero's journey, the coming of age, the squire wants to become a knight arc kind of story with medieval fantasy, but like real nuts and bolts. I love old school folklore, and so when you look at high fantasy with elves, dwarves, and everything like that, I like looking at the folklore that stuff is based on, and so the world that this is all built around is the most medieval fantasy I think anyone will ever have come across. It is so, got all the medieval, all the medieval you want in this one, and and the characters are just. I think that might be the thing that's excited me most about this book, is that I've kind of forgot how good the characters are in it, and so by cleaning up everything else, it's gonna be. I think people are gonna really love this one, so I'm excited for it.
I'm sweating. You're turning me on, man.
Well, calm yourself, Dawson. It's not a channel for that.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing gets me going like a medieval. Like I'm made for it, especially from Shad. I'm just amazed and inspired by how much you work. When do you rest? Do you rest?
Yeah, well, part of it is like my kind of philosophy is I could get way more done if I push myself further, but I always make sure to just not let myself get overwhelmed. And part of it is also health-wise and stuff. I mean, you might have noticed I've only kind of been doing one video a week, and that's just because balance. And also the book, honestly, as well. I want more time to write. And that was one of the difficulties with working on book 2 of Everfall, is trying to find, that balance. And so what I've had to do is kind of pull back, one video a week now on YouTube. And if I get an additional one in, that's just a bonus. And focusing on writing. And that's kind of a good balance for me at the moment. That's like enabling me to get a good chunk of writing done, and maintain YouTube and other things. And that's kind of it. And then I can still take the time I need to relax, keep my mind in a good space so I can be creative and all that. And so, like the other side is, because people say you get so much done, and I say, well, I still take a decent amount of time to just make sure I don't get overwhelmed. And part of that is I do look for things that won't take too much effort, but will return large results. That was one of the things why I did YouTube, because talking is easy for me. And so making a video isn't that hard. It does take energy. And now that I outsource editing, that freed up so much time, by the way. I mean, I've outsourced editing for a couple of years, but YouTube was very full time when I was doing all the editing myself. But now that's outsourced. And like buying the land, that was just emails and meetings on the occasion. It didn't take like huge amounts of time and stuff. And so it's a matter of finding things that is like I can do it a little on the side yet make good returns. So that's
Man, I need to read a business book from you too. That's so much of this is practical advice that I would be.
Well, that's Dawson. That's the 80-20 principle. There's a book that's called the 80-20 principle. It's doing actions that I'm just trying to convert it in my head. So it's 20% of the actions that you take bring you 80% of the results that you have. And if you look at most things in your life, you're gonna see that 80-20% come back a lot of times. So a lot of times, if you just think about what you're doing and how you structure your work, are you doing the thing that is going to bring the most results, or are you doing the other 80% of the things that aren't going to bring results?
Definitely that.
And if you optimize
my job right now, I get home from my job and I collapse on the couch. Like I have no energy for anything, and it's the worst. It's the worst. I need to be more conscientious. I need to be better and stronger than that.
A lot of people I know have told me that I should be a life coach, but I don't see myself doing that.
You are running a studio. You are writing an RPG. You're dealing with business, film making, fake swords and miniatures, and corresponding with famous YouTubers. I mean, man, that's
so. And that's exactly what Shad was talking about using and outsourcing your editing is a great example of using the 80-20 principle, right? Because it was probably taking 80% of your time doing videos and bringing you not 80% of the results. It's the 20% that you were talking in front of the camera that was bringing the most of the results.
That's the more crucial part. I can get someone else to do editing, but I can't get someone else to do the actual camera, be the person in the camera. And the thing that's helped me most out in falling into that, because I never read the book, but I fell into that pattern naturally, and it's laziness. The virtue of because
I've never heard that outright. I'm sorry, what?
It can be a virtue if you apply it in the right way, where I want to get the best results for the least amount of effort. And so that causes me to look at my strengths. What is the easiest for me to do, and what takes the least amount of time? It's like, okay, I'm going to do that. But it's not only that, it's finding the things that is easiest to do, but also what you enjoy the most. Because I do work. There are times where the work becomes very tedious and it's like a drudge, right? But if you're enjoying it, you can get through it and the time passes a lot quicker and stuff. And like, for instance, writing a book is a long process, and you can't do it in a short thing. And the way that you do that is you enjoy it. You find the things that you enjoy, and then you just so writing is the interesting one, because that's probably the one that takes the most amount of work in terms of my passions. YouTube doesn't take as much work as writing. It can, like editing when other things compile on it and stuff. And when production value comes up and I need to get outside and set things up and wear heavy armor now and everything like that really hammers me these days. But in terms of writing, that is one of the things that is more labor intensive, and it's been a matter of one, finding a way to hack my own brain to get myself in the mood to write, and two is finding the time in your schedule where you can double down on work and stuff. And I remember when I was working full time, I would go to my work an hour early and just write, because it was an environment without any distractions. Because when I'm home, there's a lot of distractions. The computer games are staring at me and things. But at work, I could really just write really easily. And so I went to work an hour early and got a heap amount of writing done. And Everfall, people probably don't know this, most of Everfall I wrote at my public library, because home was too distracting. And so I would leave my home, go to the public library. It's a quiet environment that puts you in the mindset of focus. And it was like a work environment. And because of that, I could write between 2 to 6 hours in one go, where I wasn't able to do that at home. It's gotten to the point where I've had to break through that barrier to be able to write at home because of kids and my wife's health and other things. And so now I can do it. But when I was writing Everfall, I couldn't do it at home because there was too many distractions. And so it was a matter of sitting down and finding a way around the problems. And that was it. I would leave home and go to the library. And half of Everfall was written, no, more than half of Shadow of the Conqueror was written at my public library.
So you were that weird guy sitting in the corner of the library. That all the kids would be like, "That guy is here again." In the
there was a laptop just.
There was a guy at my public library in a small town. He was there all the time, and he was playing like one of those. I think the game was Ebony or something. One of those weird like real-time strategy games with the buxom ladies that are in all the advertising. Like he was this huge, big bearded old guy who's always playing that game. That's not what you are. You were doing something creative, but anyway.
There's always that moment when you're creating something, writing a script, writing a book, where you just freeze for a second, look at nothing, and just think. And I can see the kids going around and be like, why is he looking at me, Mom?
When I write, I actually mimic the facial expression of the character I'm currently describing. And so if they're angry, I'll be like, and so they probably would have seen this guy with this really like smiling.
I hope that's not the face you're gonna use as Dane.
No. You only notice it in these streams, but it's because I when you're writing, you put yourself in the character, and so so you get in that zone. Might be one of those holdovers or things that's been conditioned on me from role playing. Actually, by the way, like role playing is one of the most beneficial pastimes I've ever done. That's helped me out in writing in terms of getting into the character's head. Role playing has been phenomenally helpful because of that, and so I can actually get in the character's head really easy because of heaps of practice from tabletop role playing and stuff, D&D.
That's fascinating. I have a lot of questions. I wish I could ask you about them. If there is time, I will. But if you guys have more surprises you need to get to,
we should precise everything about the miniature because we skipped a bit of it.
Oh, sure.
Like people are asking about if they're going to be able to buy it and everything.
I was going to go and go through the questions before we end this. So we had Aaron Delph who asked, who is there going to be a variant with armor of Dalen? So right now, no. What we're planning to do is to, if enough Dalens are sold, we're gonna first start doing Lyra, Arik, and build out the character set to have a whole Shadow of the Conqueror set, and it's mainly going to focus on the characters that are going to be in the short film. So there, if we sell enough of these, you're gonna get a miniature of Shad in his Dane costume, and of Lloyd in his officer costume as well. So that's something to look for. If above that we still get a lot of requests for it, we might do a Dalen in armor and a Lyra in armor. I think it would both be in Sunforged armor. I'm guessing, Shad.
Yes,
So,
it is mentioned in book one. Dalen has a full suit of Sunforged plates, but he wasn't able to get access to it in the first book. But he will in the second book.
Ooh.
So,
Can I tell you quick why I'm so excited for book 2? Because it's a different feeling for being excited for other sequels. Like every book that gets you excited for the sequel, it's either a cliffhanger or there's just something inherently compelling that makes you want to know what happens next. But with this, I've never had an instance with a book where I've been so intrigued and wanting to know what happens next because of the characters' relationships to each other and how in the world are these characters going to advance. Because usually a book will end where the character's like, oh, they're all friends now and now they're going to go on an adventure, and like that's exciting. In this book, they have every reason to, and they do have open disdain for each other, some of them. I mean, you literally have the worst human being in this bizarre situation, like at the beginnings of reconciliation with people who have every right to want him dead. And where do they go from there? That's I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, what in the world
And
is it? What does a book
from what
do?
what I understand, at the end of the first book, Lyra really is like, I will never forgive him. And there's nothing that he can do that will
That's what's so
make me
fascinating.
forgive him.
There's this level of forgiveness, sort of the like, I'm going to like let this. I'm not gonna take vengeance, but that's not the same as forgiveness. So are we going to see that, like, because forgiveness has a lot of levels, practically speaking. You always see this happen in real life. It's not simple, it's not easy, and it's not clean as much as you'd like it to be. Sometimes it is, but this is like, oh my gosh, you're getting
Like you're getting the forgiveness that is like, I'm not gonna kill you, but
yep.
just barely.
And then what journey is Shad in all his wisdom going to take us on, and what revelations of the human condition is he going to
I get an evil chuckle because I got plans, man. Plans I have in book 2.
Okay, so next question from Alexander: is the June date concrete or flexible? So the date that we're gonna select, we're aiming for end of spring. So that's what we're aiming at, and it's going to be mainly based on the studio dates that are available to us. So
And the COVID, if it's not over
COVID
yet.
again. But well, Francis, let's not say that it's not going to be solved by then. Let's be positive about this.
Oh, I am positive. But that bitch keeps coming back.
Well, if our president dies, we're gonna have lockdowns forever, and if not, we still might. I don't know.
Dude, if he survives, we'll never hear the end of it.
I'm not sure about this question. So Alexander was asking, when was the demo monologue filmed? So I'm guessing he's talking about the monologue you did for of the shades
with the shade,
that is in the Kickstarter video. So it was filmed just a few weeks before the Kickstarter video was released.
Yep.
If
2 weeks.
Yeah.
2-3 weeks before the Kickstarter.
And it was just Dawson by himself
in a
with
black garage.
A camera in his garage. So it's not like the whole team went to Dawson to film him and get the best.
No,
quality.
my buddy Dan filmed it for me. He did me a huge favor.
We also had I might buy 10, gonna start shilling for this model now. Good for you, Irondelf. I'm gonna try to I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I was thinking of maybe doing no, I won't say that. I'm not gonna get into that. So it's going the model is gonna be for sale on My Mini Factory. I'm creating the store listing right after this live stream, and I'm gonna put the link in the description. So if you come back here, you're gonna have access to it. I'm
gonna have a victory beer. Congratulations, you're a mini now. Oktoberfest.
So.
Dawson. And yeah, it's going to be an STL. We're looking with the company to have them 3D printed and shipped to people that doesn't have a 3D printer, but it's not.
Francis.
No, it's not. We're looking into it. I said we're looking into it. It's nothing settled. So right now it's only the STL file.
Okay, so. Yes, I'm sorry, Emilio. There was a lot of questions today, so it's a bit more difficult to answer to all of the questions. Okay.
Maybe we can do a quick fire round. Let's see how many questions we've done in a minute or something.
Okay.
Especially if anyone's aimed to me.
Okay.
I can try and get through them quickly.
What shall thy armor of Dalen look like, Shad?
Oh, it's a bit too hard to explain. I mean, basically... there are levels. There is like a Sunforged mail kind of thing, but then there is a heavier plate that goes over top of it. And there's going to be a mix between fantasy, but fully functional medieval plate that it has more interlocking segments. So it's more encompassing, but gives full range of motion. But
enormous pauldrons.
Yeah, well, it's funny you mention that. There is going to be a distinct fantasy aesthetic to it to make it look really cool. And part of it is actually having it conform to a more modern aesthetic of what looks cool, which is usually broader shoulders, big kind of thing, tapered waist, stuff like that. But yeah, if that can paint a decent enough picture, I hope it does the job.
Shad, can you do book reviews? Since you're an author, it would be nice to see you book reviews.
I'm thinking of doing it for the next Stormlight, honestly, but that would be also be spoilers because I don't get enough time to do, unfortunately, because there are a lot of books I wish I could read, but I just don't get around to doing it. But I do set aside a special time to make sure I hit Brandon's ones, and because I've consulted on this next one, I really want to read it, of course, and so I'm really interested to see if Brandon, because he said he actually did take up on some certain suggestions, and I mean one scene he completely rewrote based on my suggestions, and he sent me that one, and that's awesome. And so being able to see my own kind of influence in basically the most popular fantasy property in the world at the moment, that's pretty cool. But at the moment, no major plans or solid plans to do book reviews. And if I do, it'll only be one or two, kind of like my movie reviews, and it might be Stormlight, if anything, really.
Okay, so I have another question, which is, we have any plans of including pole arms in the short film? And I'm going to take this one. In the universe of Everfall, there is a distinct culture of sword fighting and of dueling, and that makes it so that most people carry swords. And in the film, it's during a daily use of they're not going to war, so they're not gonna have pole arms. So they're carrying their swords, and it's gonna be mainly sword play, and there's gonna be no pole arms.
Pole arms are for uncultured cowards.
Uncultured cowards. I don't agree. A spear is very, very good, by the way.
And halberds are gorgeous and classy, but
to add some, setting information canonically and stuff, spears and polearms are used, of course, more so in large-scale warfare, but there is a type of soldier in the book that's only mentioned, and you don't get to see him front and center, though my special announcement, you might get to see him a bit more. They're called dragoons, which is, kind of just a lift from a historical name, but in this world, dragoons are actually soldiers that wear like metal, so it's not sunforged, but it's this full plate interlocking segmented armor that has a sunstone driver fixed on the back to give them small flight ability. And these dragoons use very long spears because they're a flight-based soldier and stuff.
They fly over your head and stab down on you. That's rad.
They drop from they basically drop soldiers from skyships. More ground based, but they can levitate and leap and hover. And they can build up speed as well. And yes, and so they're the ones who use kind of the polearm weapons as well. The thing about with the weapons in Everfall, in regards to the weapons that have greater effect after sunforging, swords actually become far more lethal when you sunforge them than when you do with polearms because of their cutting ratio. When you sunforge a sword, their cutting ratio increases at a much greater rate than if you sunforge like a glaive when it has a smaller cutting head or something like that. And so if you're using if you're ever using sunicles in a warfare situation, it's actually going to be swords actually more often than polearms.
Okay, I think we're going to end this live stream here. Just before we end, so I said in the video title there was going to be a giveaway. So we are going to give away 3 of the Dalen minis that I 3D printed. So there's going to be one given away to Michael, which is one of our Kickstarter backers. So I don't know if Michael is present here. If yes, we're going to contact you through Kickstarter to get your address and ship it to you. We're also going to send one to Legendary from our Patreon. So that's for you. And another randomly through the people that are active in the live chat here.
Oh shit. Oh yes. Okay, give me a sec. Give me a
Okay,
sec.
so you're doing it, Francis?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be John.
John.
Yeah, John.
So John,
Jon.
I hope you're
John.
you're still connected. Make sure to contact us and give us your info so that we can ship it to you.
Yes.
So that's going to be it. So 3 winners of these miniatures, and we're probably going to give away a few others in our next live streams. So continue coming, and we'll you might have a chance to win one of those. If you don't have a 3D printer, that's a good way to get one.
Yeah, exactly. And don't forget, the link will be in the description of this video. And I think we'll be sending it also to every backers on Kickstarter so that you get the link, and everyone also on the Patreon.
So thanks everyone for being here. Thanks, Shad, for your presence. It's really, really appreciated. I think everyone here appreciated that you were here. Again, thanks, Dawson, as well. I think this was really awesome to have all of you guys here. It's been a few months, and it's really fun to be all together and talk about this amazing project that we're all happy to be working on. And that's going to be it for today. Thank you for being here, and have a great day.